Guys, guys, this is a story of a true hero who lives amongst us. And I know what you're thinking. No, it's not Superman, neither is it Batman, nor Spider-Man for my comic stories lovers, but a more real entity who's just as alive as you and I, but just much more braver. He is Mr. Ejiro Otarigho from Agbaho, Ughelli North Local Government Area, Delta State, and studied in Baptist Model High School in Erua, Delta State. He has been a tanker driver since 2010, and that's like 12 years experience. He is married to a lovely lady by the name Mrs. Augustina Ughelli Otarigho. They got married on the 6th of March 2022, and they are blessed with 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls, and they are expecting their 5th child. But what I do not know for sure if these 4 kids he already has is from this same woman or from a different person entirely. From the pictures we see back there, I'm guessing they are all from his present wife, so I think this is one big happy monogamous family. Now that keeps me wondering, if this is such a happy family as they appear to be, why then would he risk his life for people he probably doesn't know or has never met? Well, that's why Mr. Ejiro has been tagged a selfless hero and of course the man of the year. The incident occurred on the 10th of June 2022 on a Friday evening at about 7 p.m. in a very busy area of Ughelli North Local Government area called 5 Junction that has about 6 fuel stations. Now, if you're familiar with this area, you would know that it is a business hub and it accommodates not just businesses but also residential buildings and thousands of people occupying them. If you're also familiar with traffic studies, you know that from 6 p.m. to about 8 to 9 p.m. is known as peak hours. This is when workers, traders, commuters from different parts are all heading home or to their various dwelling places. So just imagine how heavy the traffic was at that time. So on this fateful evening, Mr. Ejiro had just finished supplying PMS to a certain fuel station with a 33,000 litre tanker. Now, PMS is an acronym for Premium Motor Spirit, which is also known as gasoline or petrol, which is basically used as fuel in combustion engines in vehicles. As we all know, when these highly inflammable products come in contact with naked fire or radiation caused by radioactivities such as phone calls, it is known to be at its most hazardous point. Now that is why it is advised not to place calls at fuel or gas stations because the resulting reaction is always catastrophic. So after this delivery, it seemed like his boss in the person of Mr. Chidibere Ugo was around the vicinity. It wasn't stated if Mr. Ejiro works for that particular fuel station or if it's just a privately owned petroleum company that supplies PMS. But in all, it was said that the tankers belonged to Mr. Chidibere. So when Mr. Ejiro moved out and was heading to his next stop to deliver PMS to the next station, his conductor in the person of Edafe noticed the ball of fire that the tanker has been engulfed in and alerted Mr. Ejiro immediately. Ejiro's reaction to the situation shocked Edafe when he was asked to jump out of the tanker, which he eventually did after Mr. Ejiro slowed it down. At this point, residents of the area started running for their lives when they saw what was going on. Ejiro's boss, Mr. Chidibere Ugo, didn't even notice the fire. All he saw was people running helter-skelter. In fear, he also ran for his life, thinking it was a robbery in the neighborhood. Well, that's why I always tell people that in situations like that, all you have to do is notice where the problem is coming from, then you can run to the opposite direction because that's safer. Because what if Mr. Ejiro had stopped the tanker and also ran for his life, and his boss, Mr. Chidibere, ran towards it and it ended up exploding? Just what if? But as God will have it, Mr. Ejiro kept on driving away from the densely populated area with the thought of saving over 20,000 lives at the expense of his. Wow. Not even minding if he wouldn't see his lovely wife, 4 kids and an unborn child anymore. Would you risk your life like that? Come on, I'll give you a minute. I'll wait. Because I'm not sure I would. Before we continue, if you're new to this channel, please do well to subscribe and turn on post notifications so you will be the first to know whenever I post a new video, and also comment, like, and do not forget to share. Now, going back to the story, at the time of this incident, so many onlookers who actually had the balls to stand and watch criticized Mr. Ejiro's actions to be irrational and stupid. You know, so many people would ask, is this guy drunk or something, or is he sleeping? Mr. Ejiro did what he had to do in the interest of the community at large with the mindset that he didn't want to have blood of innocent people in his hands. Now that's noble. From the picture behind, you can see that tanker close to the fuel station. So imagine the magnitude of damage that would have caused if that 3,000 litre tanker actually exploded in that area. Now during this heroic act, Mr. Ejiro was smart enough to leave the door of the tanker open just in case the situation deteriorated, while he used the other hand to steer the wheels. Smart. Now with this, I can't help but imagine the calculations he had to do maneuvering through vehicles on that narrow Omotigbe street to two other streets before coming out to the major east-west road. Like, this guy must be a genius. At this point, he was heading towards the abattoir at Slaughter, where he intended to drive the tanker into the Ovara River to extinguish the fire, regardless of the 20 minutes estimated time to get there. But luckily for Mr. Ejiro, he got to the open space at the Slaughter safely, over almost half an hour, 15 to 20 miles away from where the fire actually started. So when he got there, he got down from the tanker and saw that it wasn't still safe enough, so he had to go back in the tanker to reverse and plunge the tanker into the river. But at this point, the back tires had already burned out and the front of the vehicle couldn't move anymore. That was when he finally got down and was taken away to safety. As a thoughtful and caring man that he is, the first person he called when he got out of the inferno was his wife, who was at her shop, to tell her what had happened, but he didn't get the chance to meet her because he was taken away to calm the tension down before she arrived. But the cause of fire is still a mystery. Not even Mr. Ejiro nor Edafi can actually explain what happened. It could be as a result of a damaged tank, or corrosion, or other wear and tear factors, or exposure to naked flame close by, or even radiation. No one knows for sure. All we know is that the tank did not collapse, neither did it collide or go head to head with another vehicle. Mr. Ejiro's case is one which most people don't want to come on social media to brag and post us and chase clouds for cheap popularity. But this man has spiked low since the time of this incident. As a matter of fact, he hasn't even posted anything on his Facebook page since then. And you can see for yourself that even the praises in his comment sections are from other people. And frankly speaking, this is why I consider a rare act of nobility, modesty, and indeed worthy of emulation. Good thing about this situation is that Mr. Ejiro's boss took the situation in good faith and made peace with the fact that in business there are profitable days and then there are days you lose a fortune. He is also happy that his employee's life is safe, and he has commended Mr. Ejiro for his bravery. Now that's a good boss right there. Meanwhile, the executive director, Citizens Advocacy for Social and Economic Rights, Mr. Frank Tiete, has raised a fund for Mr. Ejiro, aiming to inspire positive heroism among Nigerians. And at the time of making this video, Mr. Tiete said over 490,000 naira have been contributed so far into Mr. Otarigho's first bank account, and that the contribution tagged Bravery Fund for Ejiro will last for about 30 days and will end on the 11th of July 2022, and that's about 1 month. Government, both in the local and state level, has commended Ejiro for his uncommon bravery and has promised to support and compensate him handsomely. But I personally think this act of heroism should be supported and encouraged with several job offers. At least a safer job that won't put his life on the edge like that anymore for the sake of his wife and kids. So if you agree with me, I think you should take down Mr. Ejiro's phone number so you could appreciate him financially, and also fix him up as a professional driver or for a more prestigious position. Was 0803 2188021. And just in case you missed that, to be displayed on the screen right now. Now, the Senate has resolved to honor Ejiro and has also recommended Ejiro to Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari for national honors. Now, that's cool. Well, I hope he has heard though. It actually took some people 4 months to actually learn that ASU is actually on strike.
Wait, War Flight.